My delusional ex-wife told everyone I died. I'm very much alive. The Facebook notification popped up on my phone at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, and for a moment, I thought I was having some kind of weird out-of-body experience. Asterisk, Sarah Matthews is fundraising for Marcus Chin Memorial Fund, help a widow and her daughter rebuild their lives after this tragic loss. Asterisk. I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold in my hand. Marcus Chin. That's me. I'm Marcus Chin, and last I checked, I was very much alive, sitting in my cramped studio apartment in Portland, debugging code and living off microwave burritos. But according to this GoFundMe page, complete with a photo of me from our wedding 5 years ago, I've been dead for 3 months. Car accident on Highway 101, apparently. Taken too soon, the description read. Marcus was a devoted father and husband who loved his family more than anything. The fundraiser had raised $14,000. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through the comments. Dozens of them. People I knew, people I'd worked with, neighbors from our old house in Sacramento. All offering condolences to Sarah. All mourning me. Asterisk, Sarah, I'm so sorry for your loss. Marcus was such a good guy. Asterisk, Jenny from Sarah's book club. Asterisk, can't believe he's gone. Thinking of you and Emma during this difficult time. Asterisk, my old coworker Dave, who I'd literally exchanged emails with 2 weeks ago about a freelance project. Asterisk, Emma is lucky to have such a strong mom. Marcus would be so proud. Asterisk, Sarah's mother, Linda, who'd blocked me on all social media after the divorce. Emma. My 7-year-old daughter thinks I'm dead. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. For 6 months since our divorce was finalized, I'd been trying to arrange visitation. Sarah kept making excuses, Emma was sick, she had plans, it wasn't a good time. My lawyer said we'd work it out eventually, that these things took time to settle. I figured Sarah was just being vindictive, using Emma as leverage. Bitter ex-wife behavior, unfortunately common according to my divorce support group. I never imagined she'd go full psychopath and fake my death. The fundraiser description painted quite the picture. After Marcus's sudden passing in a tragic car accident, Emma and I have been struggling to cope with our grief while dealing with overwhelming medical bills and funeral costs. Marcus was our everything, a brilliant software engineer who worked tirelessly to provide for his family. Now Emma asks every day why Daddy isn't coming home. Medical bills. Funeral costs. I died in Oregon, apparently, which was news to me since I'd moved here specifically to get away from Sarah's drama. And Emma asking why Daddy isn't coming home. She'd been told by her own mother that Daddy was never coming home because Daddy was 6 feet under. I screenshot everything. The fundraiser, the comments, Sarah's Facebook posts from the past 3 months showing her playing the grieving widow perfectly. Photos of Emma looking sad with captions like, some days are harder than others, and teaching her that it's okay to miss Daddy. One post from last month showed Emma holding a balloon, sending Daddy a message in heaven on what would have been his 35th birthday. My birthday. I'd spent it alone, eating Chinese takeout and wondering why my daughter hadn't called. The worst part. Sarah was good at this. Really good. Her post struck the perfect balance of heartbroken but resilient, devastated but grateful for community support. She'd always been manipulative, but this was next-level sociopathy. I paced my apartment until 3 a.m., phone in hand, scrolling through months of sympathy comments and cash donations for my fictional funeral. The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove straight to Sacramento. 3 hours on I-5 gave me plenty of time to cycle through every emotion in the human spectrum, rage, disbelief, heartbreak, and back to rage. By the time I pulled into my old neighborhood, I had a plan. Sort of. First stop, Emma's school. Lincoln Elementary, where I used to volunteer for the science fair every year. I parked across the street and waited for recess, my heart hammering against my ribs. There she was. My little girl, playing on the monkey bars with her friend Sophia. She'd grown, her hair was longer, pulled back in the French braids Sarah never had patience for. Someone else must be doing them now. Probably Linda, playing the supportive grandmother to the fatherless child. I wanted to run over there, scoop her up, tell her Daddy was right here and everything was okay. But I couldn't traumatize her at school. This needed to be handled carefully, strategically. Sarah had spent 3 months building this lie. I couldn't just kick it down without considering the collateral damage to Emma's psyche. Instead, I drove to my old office building downtown. TechFlow Solutions, where I'd worked for 6 years before the divorce made staying in Sacramento impossible. The security guard, Miguel, nearly dropped his coffee when he saw me. Marcus? Jesus Christ, man, we thought, Sarah said. Yeah, Miguel. Sarah said a lot of things, apparently. His face went from shock to confused to something approaching horror as the implication sank in. But the funeral flowers, we sent flowers to the service. And Janet organized the collection for Emma's college fund. My jaw tightened. How much did you guys collect? 3 grand, maybe 4. Everyone chipped in. Even the executives contributed. Sarah sent a thank you card with Emma's picture, talking about how grateful she was for Dad's work family supporting them through the tragedy. $4,000. Plus the 14 on GoFundMe. Plus whatever she collected from our church, our old neighbors, our families. Sarah had turned my fake death into a goddamn cottage industry. Miguel, I need you to do me a favor. Don't tell anyone you saw me today. Not yet. He nodded slowly, still staring at me like I was Lazarus. Marcus, this is seriously messed up, man. Like, criminal level messed up. He wasn't wrong. Fraud, identity theft, child alienation, Sarah had committed enough felonies to make a prosecutor salivate. But pressing charges would mean Emma finding out her mother was going to prison. It would mean therapists and court hearings and Emma learning that Mommy had lied about Daddy being dead to steal money from people. I spent the afternoon at the Sacramento Public Library, using their computers to dig deeper. Sarah's social media was a masterpiece of calculated deception. She'd posted photos of a funeral program, for me. Complete with my photo, birth date, and a fabricated death date. The service was allegedly held at Morrison Funeral Home, private ceremony per family wishes. Morrison Funeral Home was real. I called them. Memorial service for Marcus Chin. The receptionist sounded confused. I'm sorry, sir, but we haven't had anyone by that name. When was this supposed to be? October 15th. Would have been about 6 weeks ago. Let me check our records. No, definitely nothing on that date. Are you sure you have the right funeral home? I thanked her and hung up. So Sarah had faked the funeral entirely, probably just made the program on her laptop and posted photos. The woman was thorough, I'd give her that. But she'd also left a digital trail that would bury her the second I decided to surface. The question was, how do I come back from the dead without destroying my daughter's world in the process? I was halfway through my third cup of coffee at the library when my phone buzzed. Dave, my old coworker, was calling. The same Dave who'd left condolences on the memorial fund page. Marcus? His voice was shaky. Dude, please tell me this is really you. My stomach dropped. Dave, how did you? Miguel called me. Said you were at the office today. I've been staring at my phone for 20 minutes trying to figure out if I should call. He paused. Man, what the hell is going on? We all thought you were dead. I mean, Sarah showed me the obituary. I was at a conference in Portland last month and almost drove to the cemetery to visit your grave. The cemetery. Of course there'd be a fake grave site too. Which cemetery? Rose City Memorial. She said you wanted to be buried in Oregon since you'd moved there. Dave's voice cracked. Marcus, I cried at that GoFundMe page. I wrote this whole thing about how you helped me through my divorce and how Emma was lucky to have had you as a dad, even if it was cut short. I closed my eyes. Dave's divorce had been brutal 2 years ago. I'd let him crash on our couch for 3 weeks, helped him find a lawyer, listened to him cry about missing his kids. Now Sarah had weaponized even that friendship. Dave, I need you to keep quiet about this for now. I'm trying to figure out the best way to handle it without traumatizing Emma. Emma. His voice turned cold. That little girl thinks her father is dead, Marcus. Sarah brought her to our company picnic in August, and Emma told my kids all about how Daddy was watching her from heaven now. She drew a picture of you with angel wings. The coffee cup slipped from my hand, clattering onto the library table. Other patrons looked over, annoyed by the noise. I barely noticed. She drew what? Angel wings, man. And a halo. She gave it to Janet for the break room because she said Daddy's work friends should have a picture to remember him by. Dave was quiet for a moment. It's still hanging there, Marcus. Right next to the coffee machine. I had to end the call. Told Dave I'd explain everything soon, made him promise again to stay quiet. Then I sat in that library chair, staring at the computer screen, trying not to picture my 7-year-old drawing her living father as a dead angel. That's when I found Sarah's Instagram. She'd made it public after my supposed death, probably for maximum sympathy reach. The posts were even worse than Facebook. More intimate, more detailed. Videos of Emma crying, asking when Daddy was coming home, with Sarah's voice gently explaining that Daddy lived in heaven now. A time-lapse video of Emma making a Father's Day card addressed to Daddy in the sky. But the post that made my blood run cold was from just 2 days ago, big news coming soon. Emma and I are ready for our next chapter. Sometimes the most beautiful things grow from the deepest grief. Stay tuned. 2 hearts # new beginnings # growth through pain. I scrolled through the comments. Dozens of heart emojis and encouragement. But one comment from Sarah's sister Michelle made my chest tighten, so excited for you guys. Emma's going to love having a new daddy figure. David seems perfect. David. Sarah was dating someone. Someone serious enough that Michelle was calling him a father figure for Emma. I clicked on Michelle's profile, then started cross-referencing tags and photos. It didn't take long to find him. David Brennan, 38, recently divorced, works in real estate. His Instagram showed him at dinner with Sarah, at the zoo with Emma, teaching Emma to ride a bike in what looked like his backyard. The most recent photo was from 3 days ago, David on one knee in a restaurant, Sarah crying with her hands over her mouth, Emma clapping in the background. The caption read, "She said yes. Can't wait to make this beautiful family complete. Emma's been through so much, but love wins in the end. #engaged #blended family #love after loss." Sarah was engaged. To a man Emma believed was replacing her dead father. The memorial fund was still active, still collecting donations for the grieving widow. But Sarah wasn't grieving, she was planning a wedding. With my daughter. My living, breathing daughter who thought her real father was rotting in an Oregon cemetery that didn't exist. I screenshot everything, my hands trembling with rage. Sarah hadn't just faked my death for sympathy money. She'd done it to erase me completely, to give Emma a clean slate with a new father figure. No messy custody battles, no confusion about why mommy and daddy couldn't live together anymore. Just a tragic accident, a grieving period, and now a fairy tale ending with Prince David riding in to save the day. I spent that night in a cheap motel off Highway 50, staring at the ceiling and planning my next move. Sleep was impossible. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma drawing angel wings on a picture of me. At 6 a.m., I was parked outside Starbucks when my phone rang. Unknown Sacramento number. Is this Marcus Chin? The voice was professional, unfamiliar. Depends who's asking. This is Detective Amanda Rodriguez with Sacramento PD. Mr. Chin, I need to ask you a very strange question. Are you currently alive? My blood turned to ice water. What kind of question is that? The kind I ask when someone reports a potential fraud case involving a dead man who's been making phone calls. Her tone was dry, almost amused. Miguel Santos called our non-emergency line last night. Said his former coworker had risen from the dead and we might want to look into some questionable fundraising activities. Shit. Miguel couldn't keep his mouth shut for 12 hours. Detective Rodriguez, this is complicated. I'm sure it is. Can you come down to the station? We've had 3 more calls since Miguel's. Apparently, word travels fast in your old social circles. 2 hours later, I was sitting across from Detective Rodriguez in a sterile interview room, watching her flip through screenshots of Sarah's fundraising empire. She was younger than I'd expected, maybe early 30s, with the kind of sharp eyes that missed nothing. 14,000 on GoFundMe, 4,000 from your old workplace, roughly 3,000 from your church's benevolence fund, she read from her notes. Your ex-wife has been busy. There's more, I said, pulling out my phone. She's engaged. Posted about it 3 days ago. Still collecting sympathy donations for being a grieving widow while planning her wedding. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. That's bold, even for a con artist. She leaned back in her chair. Mr. Chen, I have to ask, where have you been for the past 6 months? Your daughter genuinely believes you're dead. Your ex-wife has medical records showing she sought grief counseling for both her and the child. I've been in Portland. Working, paying child support that apparently never reached Emma, trying to arrange visitation that Sarah kept blocking. I showed her my bank records, the payment confirmations. Every month, like clockwork. $1,500 to an account Sarah claimed was for Emma's expenses. And you never tried to contact Emma directly? The accusation in her voice stung. Of course I did. Sarah changed her number. Had me blocked on everything. Said Emma needed space to adjust to the divorce. I ran my hands through my hair. I thought she was being vindictive, not this. Rodriguez made a note. We'll need to verify your whereabouts, employment records, everything. This is potential fraud, identity theft, child alienation. But Mr. Chen, she looked up from her notepad. The victim here isn't just you. It's your daughter. And every person who donated money believing they were helping a grieving family. She was right. This wasn't just about Sarah stealing money or ruining my reputation. Emma had spent 3 months believing her father abandoned her through death. 3 months of therapy sessions and sleeping with the lights on and asking why daddy didn't love her enough to stay alive. There's something else, I said. Sarah's planning something big. Her Instagram mentioned a major announcement coming soon. Given the engagement timeline, I think she's planning a wedding. Soon. Rodriguez's pen stopped moving. How soon? Her sister's comments mentioned David wanting to adopt Emma after they married. Fast-track the whole thing while the sympathy donations are still flowing. I pulled up Michelle's Facebook. Look at this post from yesterday. The post was a photo of wedding dress shopping, with Sarah in a flowing white gown. The caption read, sometimes life gives you a second chance at happiness sooner than expected. Can't wait to see Emma walk down the aisle as our flower girl next month. Hashtag second chances, hashtag healing family. Next month. For weeks to pull off a wedding and finalize adoption papers before anyone could question the timeline. She's rushing this, I said. Probably worried someone will figure out I'm not actually dead. Rodriguez stood up, closing her folder. Mr. Chen, I'm going to be straight with you. This case is a prosecutor's dream. We have documentation, witnesses, financial records. Your ex-wife is looking at serious felony charges. And Emma gets to watch her mother go to prison. That's not your fault. Rodriguez's voice softened slightly. Your daughter deserves to know her father is alive. Every day this continues is another day of psychological damage. She was right, but knowing that didn't make the situation less impossible. Come forward now, and Emma's world imploded. Stay hidden, and Sarah married David, adopted Emma, and disappeared into suburban anonymity with my daughter calling another man daddy. There's one more thing, Rodriguez said, pausing at the door. We tracked down the grief counselor Sarah's been seeing with Emma. Dr. Patricia Wong. She's been documenting Emma's progress dealing with her father's death for insurance purposes. My heart sank. Insurance purposes. Sarah filed a claim for Emma's therapy sessions. Bereavement counseling for a minor child who lost a parent. The insurance company paid out $12,000 over 3 months. $12,000 more. Sarah had turned my fake death into a full-scale financial operation. Dr. Wong wants to speak with you, Rodriguez continued. She says Emma's been asking questions lately. About why she can't visit Daddy's grave, why there are no pictures from the funeral. The kid's smart, Mr. Chen. She's starting to figure out something's wrong. That evening, I sat in Dr. Wong's office, trying to process what she just told me about Emma's sessions. The child psychologist was a soft-spoken woman in her 50s, but her words hit like hammers. Emma asked me last Tuesday why Daddy's accident didn't make the news, Dr. Wong said, consulting her notes. She'd been researching car crashes on Highway 101 around the dates Sarah provided. Very methodical for a 7-year-old. My chest tightened. She's always been curious about everything. Drives Sarah crazy when she asks too many questions. Last week, she drew a picture during our session. It showed 3 figures, herself, her mother, and a man labeled, New Daddy David. But in the corner, very small, was another figure watching from behind a tree. When I asked who it was, she said, Real Daddy, checking if I'm okay. I had to look away. The kid's intuition was stronger than Sarah's lies. Dr. Wong, how much damage have we done here? If Emma finds out the truth now. Children are remarkably resilient, Mr. Chen. But they're also deeply affected by deception from trusted adults. She leaned forward. Emma's been having nightmares. Not about losing you, about forgetting you. She's terrified she can't remember your voice anymore. The irony was crushing. Emma was mourning memories of me while I was 15 minutes away, desperate to make new ones. There's something else, Dr. Wong continued. Sarah brought Emma in yesterday for an emergency session. Apparently, Emma had what Sarah called a breakdown at school. She told her teacher that sometimes she dreams her daddy calls her name, and it feels so real she wakes up looking for him. Jesus. I rubbed my face. Sarah must be panicking. More than panicking. She's accelerating the timeline. Dr. Wong showed me a session note from yesterday. Emma mentioned that Mommy and David are getting married this Saturday. Not next month, this Saturday. Sarah told Emma it was a small ceremony to help their family heal faster. 5 days. Sarah was moving the wedding up by 3 weeks. She knows, I said. Someone tipped her off that people are asking questions. Dr. Wong nodded. Sarah also mentioned to Emma that they might be taking a special honeymoon trip to help everyone feel better. When Emma asked how long, Sarah said, maybe a very long time in a beautiful new place. My blood ran cold. Sarah was planning to run. Marry David, take Emma, and disappear before anyone could unravel her lies completely. Probably had new identities already lined up, a fresh start where no one knew about Marcus Chen or memorial funds or fake death certificates. Dr. Wong, I need to ask you something, and I need a completely honest answer. I met her eyes. If Emma finds out her mother lied about me being dead, but finds out because I show up at the wedding to stop it, how badly will that traumatize her? The psychologist was quiet for a long moment. Mr. Chen, discovering that her father is alive will be shocking, yes. But discovering it after her mother has successfully erased you forever? That could be catastrophic. She walked to her bookshelf and pulled out a thick folder. I've been documenting everything, including some concerning behaviors. Emma's been hoarding photos of you, hiding them from Sarah. She's been asking David inappropriate questions about whether he knew her real daddy in heaven. And yesterday. Dr. Wong hesitated. Yesterday what? Yesterday she asked Sarah why God took Daddy away but left all the bad daddies. When Sarah pressed her about what she meant, Emma said she'd heard David yelling at Sarah on the phone about keeping the story straight and making sure the kid doesn't mess this up. David knew. Sarah's fiancé was actively participating in the deception. Emma's not just grieving a dead father, Mr. Chen. She's living with people who see her as a liability to manage rather than a child to protect. Dr. Wong closed the folder. In my professional opinion, the longer this continues, the more damage we're looking at. Emma's starting to question everything about reality itself. I left Dr. Wong's office with a clear understanding. I had 5 days to figure out how to return from the dead, or I'd lose Emma forever to Sarah's new life with David. 5 days before they could legally disappear with my daughter, leaving behind nothing but a fake grave and a memorial fund for a man who never died. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Rodriguez. Asterisk, Sarah just withdrew $8,000 cash from the memorial fund account. Thought you should know. Asterisk. The countdown had officially begun. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's drawing, me with angel wings, watching over her from heaven while David taught her to ride bikes in his backyard. At 3 a.m., I gave up on rest and drove to the 24-hour diner on Fulton Avenue, the one where Sarah and I used to take Emma for pancakes on Sunday mornings back when we were a family. The irony wasn't lost on me, sitting in our old booth, planning how to crash my own memorial wedding. My phone buzzed. Another text from Detective Rodriguez. Asterisk, Sarah booked 3 tickets to Costa Rica departing Sunday. Names, Sarah Brennan, David Brennan, Emma Brennan. Asterisk. Emma Brennan. They were planning to change her name before they even left the country. I called Rodriguez immediately. Can you stop them from leaving? Not legally. We don't have enough evidence yet for an arrest warrant, and technically, Sarah has full custody. Unless you can prove immediate danger to the child. She's planning to disappear with my daughter to a non-extradition country after fraudulently collecting $30,000 in my name. How is that not immediate danger? Rodriguez sighed. Because fraud cases take time to build, and family court moves even slower. Sarah's lawyer could argue she's taking a grieving child on a healing vacation with her new stepfather. I hung up and stared at the coffee growing cold in front of me. 48 hours until the wedding, 72 hours until they vanished to Costa Rica with my daughter. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. Dave from work. Marcus, we have a problem. Janet came in early to decorate the break room for someone's birthday and found Emma's drawing missing. You know, the one with you as an angel. My stomach dropped. Missing how? Torn down. But here's the thing, security footage shows Sarah was here yesterday evening. She had building access because she's still listed as your emergency contact in HR. Janet checked the trash bin, found the drawing ripped into pieces. Sarah was eliminating evidence, tying up loose ends before the wedding. Which meant she knew people were getting suspicious. Dave, I need another favor. Can you get me a list of everyone who donated to Emma's college fund at work? Names and amounts. Already ahead of you. Papers rustled on his end. 23 people total. But Marcus, there's something else. Sarah sent Janet a thank you email yesterday for the collection. Said she was finally ready to start the next chapter and wanted to properly honor Marcus's memory with a small ceremony this weekend. She's inviting my coworkers to the wedding. Sounds like it. Janet forwarded the email to everyone who donated. Said Sarah wanted to celebrate Marcus's life and Emma's bright future with the people who supported them during their darkest time. The woman was shameless. She was turning our wedding venue into my memorial service, collecting final sympathy points while marrying her accomplice. I spent the morning driving past Emma's school, hoping to catch a glimpse of her during recess. Instead, I saw Sarah's Honda Civic in the pickup lane 2 hours early. Through the windshield, I could see her on the phone, gesturing frantically. Whatever conversation she was having, it wasn't going well. At 11:30, she stormed into the school office. I was too far away to hear anything, but 20 minutes later, she emerged with Emma and a manila folder marked Student Records Transfer Request. They were pulling Emma out of school. 3 days before the wedding, 2 days before I could legally challenge anything. I followed them at a distance to David's house in East Sacramento, a sprawling colonial in a gated community called Riverside Oaks. The kind of neighborhood where people minded their own business and didn't ask questions about sudden family changes. From across the street, I watched Sarah and David load suitcases into his BMW. Emma sat on the front steps, clutching a stuffed elephant I'd won for her at the state fair 2 summers ago. Even from 50 yards away, I could see she'd been crying. My phone buzzed with a Facebook notification. Sarah had posted an update, asterisk Emma and I are taking a few days to prepare our hearts for Saturday's celebration of new beginnings. So grateful for everyone's love and support during our journey from grief to joy. Marcus would want us to be happy. Red heart hashtag almost ready hashtag new family hashtag healing asterisk. The comments poured in immediately. Dozens of heart emojis, congratulations, people saying how proud they were of Sarah's strength. My old neighbor Mrs. Patterson wrote, Marcus is smiling down from heaven knowing his girls are going to be okay. But one comment stopped me cold. Emma's teacher, Miss Rodriguez, going to miss having Emma in class, but excited for her new adventure. She's such a special little girl. New adventure. They'd already told the school Emma wasn't coming back. I was so focused on reading comments that I almost missed David walking straight toward my car. I slumped down in my seat, but it was too late. David was already at my passenger window, tapping on the glass with his knuckles. He looked exactly like his Instagram photos, tall, clean-cut, the kind of guy who probably coached Little League and had never gotten a parking ticket in his life. I rolled down the window halfway. Can I help you? You can start by explaining why you're parked outside my house taking pictures. His voice was calm, but his jaw was tight. Neighborhood Watch got 3 calls about a suspicious vehicle. Just admiring the architecture, I said, keeping my voice level. Beautiful area. David studied my face for a long moment, and I saw the exact second recognition hit. His expression shifted from annoyed homeowner to something much more dangerous. You're him, he whispered. Jesus Christ, you're actually him. Before I could respond, he was yanking open my car door. Get out. Now. David, let's talk about this. Get out. His voice cracked like a whip. Across the street, Sarah appeared in the doorway, shading her eyes to see what was happening. Emma was still on the steps behind her, watching. I climbed out slowly, hands visible. The last thing I wanted was a scene that would traumatize Emma further. We need to discuss this rationally. Rationally? David laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're supposed to be dead, Marcus. Sarah showed me the death certificate. The funeral program. Everything. Fake death certificate. Fake funeral. The only thing real is the $30,000 she's stolen from people who cared about me. David's face went pale. That's not, she wouldn't. Call Morrison Funeral Home. Ask them about my service on October 15th, check Rose City Memorial for my grave. I pulled out my phone, showing him Detective Rodriguez's contact. Better yet, call Sacramento PD. They're very interested in talking to both of you. Sarah was walking toward us now, moving fast. Even from 30 yards away, I could see her face cycling through panic, rage, and calculation. She was trying to figure out how to spin this. David, get away from him, she called out. Don't listen to anything he says. He's been stalking us for weeks. Stalking? I turned to face her as she approached. Sarah, I've been in Portland paying child support for a daughter who thinks I'm buried in Oregon. Meanwhile, you've been playing grieving widow while planning your wedding. You abandoned us, Sarah snapped, but her voice was shaky. You left Emma. Left us both. I did what I had to do to help her heal. By telling her I was dead. By stealing money from our friends. I gestured toward the house. Emma's sitting right there. Does she look healed to you? We all turned to look at Emma, who was standing now, clutching her elephant. Even from this distance, I could see confusion written across her little face. She'd recognized something familiar about the man talking to David and Mommy, but couldn't quite place it. David was staring at Sarah. The death certificate, you showed me paperwork. David, he's lying. He's been following Emma to school, harassing people at his old job. Sarah grabbed his arm. We need to call the police. Please do, I said. Detective Rodriguez is expecting your call. The color drained from Sarah's face. She knew that name. She'd probably been dodging calls from Rodriguez's office for 2 days. Mommy? Emma's voice carried across the yard, high and uncertain. Who is that man? The 3 of us froze. This was it, the moment that would define everything that came next. I could walk away, let Detective Rodriguez handle the legal side, preserve Emma's innocence a little longer. Or I could take 3 steps forward and let my daughter see her supposedly dead father was standing in her new stepfather's driveway. David made the choice for me. Emma, go inside. Now. But Emma was already walking toward us, that stubborn curiosity I'd missed so much overriding her confusion. She got within 10 feet before she stopped, tilted her head, and said the words that shattered Sarah's carefully constructed world. You look like my daddy. The silence stretched for what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. Emma stood there in her little pink sneakers, elephant clutched to her chest, staring at me with those dark eyes that were exactly like mine. Sarah's face had gone completely white. Emma, sweetheart, go back to the house, Sarah said, her voice artificially bright. Mommy's just talking to. You have the same nose as Daddy, Emma interrupted, taking another step closer. And the same scar. She pointed at the small mark above my left eyebrow, the one I'd gotten falling off my bike when I was 8. The one she used to trace with her tiny finger while I read her bedtime stories. David looked between Emma and me, then at Sarah. What scar? Sarah, what is she talking about? Sarah's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She'd probably forgotten about that scar when she was crafting her perfect lie. Hard to fake physical details when you're busy inventing car crashes and funeral programs. Emma, honey, lots of people have scars. But not the same voice, Emma whispered, and my heart nearly stopped. She took another step forward. You sound like Daddy when he used to sing the elephant song. I couldn't help it. Despite everything, the situation, the audience, the absolute insanity of it all, I found myself humming the first few bars of Baby Elephant Walk. It was our song, the one I'd sung to her every night since she was 2. Emma's eyes went huge. The stuffed elephant fell from her hands. That's impossible, Sarah said quickly, but panic was creeping into her voice. Emma, Daddy is in heaven, remember? We talked about this with Dr. Wong. Dr. Wong says sometimes our minds play tricks when we miss someone, Emma said, but she was still staring at me. But my mind doesn't know about the scar. I never told anyone about Daddy's scar. David turned to Sarah, his face hard. How does this man know Emma's song? How does he have the same scar as your dead husband? He must have, Sarah was grasping now. Marcus must have told people about the song before he died. And scars like that are common. Sarah. My voice cut through her stammering. Stop. Emma's head snapped up at the sound of her name on my lips. I'd said it the same way I always had, soft, with a little upturn at the end that used to make her giggle. You know my name, she said quietly. I know a lot of things, Em. I know you hate mushrooms but love mushroom pizza sauce. I know you can tie your shoes but only if you do the bunny ears song. I know you sleep with Mr. Peanuts the elephant every night because Daddy gave him to you at the state fair. Emma looked down at the elephant she dropped, then back at me. Mommy said Daddy went to heaven because of a car accident. Mommy said a lot of things that weren't true. Stop. Sarah's voice cracked like a whip. Emma, go inside right now. This man is sick, he's confused. I'm not confused, Sarah. And neither is she. I crouched down to Emma's eye level, still keeping my distance. Em, what does your heart tell you? Not your head, not what anyone else said. What does your heart say? Emma looked at me for a long moment, then at Sarah, then at David. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. My heart says Daddy didn't leave me. Sarah made a sound like a wounded animal. David took a step back, staring at her with something approaching horror. And Emma, my brave, brilliant little girl, picked up her elephant and took 3 more steps toward me. Are you really my daddy? Really, really, not pretend. Really, really, I whispered. Not pretend. Never pretend. That's when Sarah completely lost it. You can't do this, she screamed, lunging toward me. You can't just show up and destroy everything. Emma was healing. She was happy. We were building a real family. David caught her arm before she could reach me. Sarah, what the hell is going on? Is this Emma's father or not? Emma answered before Sarah could. It's him, she said simply. It's really him. I can tell because he makes me feel safe, just like before. Before anyone could process what Emma had said, police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. David's face went from confused to panicked. Sarah, did you call the cops? No, I didn't. Sarah's eyes darted between me and the approaching sirens. This has to be him. He's trying to frame me. 2 Sacramento PD cruisers pulled up to the curb, and Detective Rodriguez stepped out of an unmarked sedan behind them. She surveyed the scene, me crouched near Emma, Sarah restrained by David's grip on her arm, a 7-year-old clutching a stuffed elephant in the middle of what looked like a domestic dispute. Well, Rodriguez said, walking over with 2 uniformed officers flanking her. This is cozy. Emma pressed closer to me, and instinctively, I put my arm around her shoulders. She didn't pull away. After 6 months of thinking I was dead, she melted into my side like she'd been waiting for this moment every single day. Officers, David said, trying to regain control of the situation, this man has been stalking my family. He's been harassing my fiancée and her daughter. Your fiancée, Rodriguez repeated, pulling out her notepad. That would be Sarah Matthews, correct? Soon to be Sarah Brennan. She looked at Sarah. The same Sarah Matthews who's been collecting donations for her dead husband's memorial fund. Sarah's face crumpled. Detective, I can explain everything. I'm sure you can. Rodriguez gestured to one of the officers. Mrs. Matthews, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and filing false insurance claims. Wait. David stepped forward, still holding Sarah's arm. There has to be some mistake. Sarah's husband died 6 months ago. She has documentation. Mr. Brennan, Rodriguez said patiently, I'd like you to meet Marcus Chen. Very much alive, as you can see. He's been paying child support every month to an account your fiancé claimed was for Emma's expenses. Emma looked up at me with wide eyes. You were sending me money. Every month, sweetheart. $1,500. I thought Mommy was using it to take care of you. But Mommy said we couldn't afford my art classes anymore because Daddy wasn't here to help pay for things. Emma's voice was small, confused. She said money was really tight. David's grip on Sarah's arm loosened. Sarah, where did that money go? Rodriguez answered for her. Based on our investigation. Vacation fund. Mrs. Matthews has been depositing the child support into a separate account she labeled CR Honeymoon Fund. CR meaning Costa Rica, where you 3 were planning to fly this Sunday. Costa Rica. Emma looked between all the adults. Are we going on a trip? The weight of what was happening seemed to hit David all at once. His face went ashen. Sarah, tell me you didn't fake your husband's death to steal money from people. It wasn't like that. Sarah finally found her voice. Marcus abandoned us. He moved to Oregon and left Emma crying every night, asking why Daddy didn't want to see her anymore. I was protecting her. By telling her I was dead. I stood up, keeping Emma close. By making her draw pictures of me with angel wings. By putting her in therapy for grief counseling when her father was an 8-hour drive away trying to arrange visitation. Rodriguez stepped forward with handcuffs. Mrs. Matthews, you have the right to remain silent. Wait. Sarah's voice cracked with desperation. Emma, tell them. Tell them how sad you were when Daddy left. Tell them how much better you felt when David came into our lives. Emma looked up at me, then at Sarah, then at David. When she spoke, her voice was steady and clear. I was sad because you told me Daddy was dead, Mommy. But I kept having dreams that he was still alive somewhere, trying to find me. She squeezed my hand. You told Dr. Wong my dreams meant I was having trouble accepting that Daddy was gone. But they weren't dreams about missing him. They were dreams about him being lost. Rodriguez finished reading Sarah her rights while Emma watched, still pressed against my side. David stood frozen on his perfectly manicured lawn, staring at the woman he planned to marry in 3 days. As they loaded Sarah into the police car, she turned back toward us, mascara streaming down her face. Emma will never forgive you for this, she screamed at me. You've ruined everything. She was happy. Emma's small voice cut through the chaos. I'm happier now, Mommy. Daddy came back, just like in my dreams. The police car doors slammed shut, and Sarah was gone. The silence after the police car disappeared was deafening. Emma was still pressed against my side, her small hand gripping mine like a lifeline, while David stood on his lawn looking like his entire world had just imploded. Which, to be fair, it had. So, David said finally, his voice hollow. The woman I was going to marry in 3 days has been lying about everything since the day I met her. Pretty much, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. Emma was processing enough trauma without hearing me tear into the man she'd been calling new daddy for weeks. David sank onto his front steps, head in his hands. The grief counseling, the fundraisers, the late-night crying sessions about missing you, all of it was fake. The counseling was real, I said. Emma was genuinely grieving. Sarah just made sure she was grieving the wrong thing. Emma tugged on my shirt. Daddy, are you going to live with us now? In David's house? The question hit me like a brick. In all my planning for this confrontation, I'd somehow skipped over the practical realities of what came next. Sarah was in custody, David's wedding was obviously cancelled, and Emma was homeless in the emotional sense, if not the literal one. We need to figure out where you're going to stay while Mommy sorts things out. I crouched down to her level again. Would you like to come see Daddy's apartment in Portland? Portland's really far, Emma said, but she didn't sound upset about it. More curious than anything. Do you have my room ready? My chest tightened. My studio apartment barely had room for me, let alone a 7-year-old who'd need her own space, stability, a school district. I'd been so focused on exposing Sarah's lies that I hadn't prepared for actually getting Emma back. We'll make it work, sweetheart. Whatever you need. David looked up from his hands. Marcus, can I talk to you for a minute? Privately. I glanced at Emma. Can you go sit on the porch swing? Stay where I can see you. She nodded and skipped over to the swing, elephant in tow, like she hadn't just watched her mother get arrested 20 minutes ago. Kids were resilient, but this level of adaptability worried me. David waited until Emma was out of earshot. Look, I know you have every right to hate me. I don't hate you, I interrupted. You got conned by a professional. Sarah's been perfecting this victim act for years. But I should have asked more questions. About the funeral, the timeline, why Emma sometimes flinched when we talked about you being gone. David rubbed his face. There were signs, and I ignored them because I wanted to be the hero who saved the grieving widow and her daughter. His honesty was unexpected. I'd been prepared for defensiveness, denials, maybe even a fight. Not this raw self-awareness. David, Emma's been through hell. The last thing she needs is another adult disappearing from her life without explanation. I paused, watching my daughter swing gently back and forth. She's attached to you. Probably confused about what your relationship means now. Yeah, about that. David's voice got quieter. The adoption papers Sarah had me sign last week. They're fake, aren't they? Most likely. Sarah's been forging documents for months. I studied his face. You signed adoption papers. Emergency petition for step-parent adoption. Sarah said it would help Emma feel more secure, having a legal father figure while she processed her grief. David laughed bitterly. I thought I was doing something noble. Emma called out from the swing, Daddy, David taught me to ride my bike without training wheels. Do you want to see? Both David and I turned toward her voice. The moment stretched awkwardly, she was talking to me, but acknowledging David's role in her life. The complexity of the situation was staggering. Maybe later, I called back. We need to figure out some grown-up stuff first. Detective Rodriguez appeared beside us, having finished processing the arrest scene. Mr. Chen, we need to discuss Emma's immediate placement. With Mrs. Matthews in custody, you'll need to file for emergency custody modification. How long does that take? Few days, maybe a week if we expedite. Rodriguez glanced at Emma on the swing. In the meantime, she'll need somewhere to stay. We have approved foster families. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. She's not going to strangers. Not after this. David cleared his throat. She could stay here. Tonight, anyway. Until you figure out the legal stuff. I stared at him. You'd do that? After everything? Marcus, I've been Emma's primary caregiver for 3 months. I pick her up from school, know her bedtime routine, which vegetables she'll actually eat. David's voice cracked slightly. I love that kid. Not because of Sarah, but because Emma. She deserves consistency right now. Rodriguez made a note. That could work temporarily. Mr. Brennan's already been background checked for the adoption proceedings. But Mr. Chen would need to stay too, for legal supervision. Here. I looked at David's house, then at Emma on the swing. You're okay with that? My guest room's bigger than most studio apartments, David said. And Emma's going to need both of us to get through this transition. Emma had stopped swinging and was watching our conversation with the hyper-aware expression kids get when adults are making decisions about their lives. She couldn't hear our words, but she could read our body language perfectly. Daddy, she called out. Are you and David going to be friends now? Since Mommy made a mistake. David and I looked at each other. Sarah had created this impossible situation, but Emma was the one who'd have to live with the consequences. The least we could do was try to minimize the damage. Yeah, I called back. We're going to try. The first night at David's house was surreal. Emma insisted on showing me her room, a space David had decorated with princess themes and a reading nook by the window. Photos of her and David were scattered across her dresser, zoo trips, ice cream dates, him pushing her on swings. 6 months of memories I'd missed, captured in frames throughout what was essentially a shrine to the life Sarah had built on my fake grave. David reads different voices for all the characters, Emma explained, pulling out a worn copy of Charlotte's Web. But he doesn't know the elephant song. I sat on her bed, the mattress creaking under my weight. Everything smelled like the lavender fabric softener Sarah had always used. Do you want me to sing it tonight? Emma nodded eagerly, then her face fell. But what about David? He always reads me a story before bed. We'll figure it out, sweetheart. David appeared in the doorway, holding a glass of milk. Emma's usual bedtime routine, he said quietly. Warm milk, 2 stories, and she likes the nightlight shaped like a butterfly. The domestic familiarity in his voice stung. This man knew my daughter's bedtime preferences better than I did after 6 months of forced absence. Emma climbed into bed, looking between us expectantly. Can you both do stories tonight? So that's how I found myself sitting on one side of Emma's bed while David sat on the other, taking turns reading chapters from a book about a pig and a spider, like the world's most awkward co-parenting arrangement. After Emma fell asleep, David and I retreated to his kitchen. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey without asking if I wanted one. She talks about you sometimes, David said, staring into his glass. Emma. Little things Sarah thought I didn't catch. Like what? She'd correct me when I'd cut her sandwich triangles instead of rectangles. Said, real daddy always made rectangles. David took a sip. Or she'd mention how real daddy used to let her help cook pancakes on Saturdays. Sarah would get this tight look on her face and change the subject. My phone buzzed with a text from Detective Rodriguez, asterisk Sarah posted bail. $50,000. Thought you should know, asterisk. The whiskey glass slipped in my hand. She's out. David looked up sharply. What? Sarah posted bail. $50,000. I showed him the message. Where the hell did she get 50 grand? Her parents, probably. Linda and Frank Matthews have money. David was already walking toward the front door, checking the locks. But she can't come here, right? There's a restraining order. Not yet. That takes time to process. I followed him to the window. The street looked normal, quiet suburban evening, porch lights glowing, no sign of Sarah's Honda. David, if she shows up here. She won't get near Emma. His voice was flat, determined. I don't care what she is to me, I won't let her hurt that kid anymore. My phone rang. Unknown number, Sacramento area code. Don't answer it, David said immediately. But I was already swiping to accept. Marcus Chin. Heavy breathing on the other end, then Sarah's voice, shaky but venomous. You think you've won something? You think exposing me makes you father of the year? Sarah, where are you? Somewhere safe, planning my next move. You know what's funny, Marcus? Emma still asks for me every night. Still cries when she thinks no one's listening. She needs her mother. David was frantically gesturing for me to hang up, but I needed to know her intentions. What do you want, Sarah? I want my daughter back. And I want you to disappear properly this time. Her laugh was bitter, unhinged. One way or another, Marcus. One way or another. The line went dead. I immediately called Detective Rodriguez, but it went straight to voicemail. David was already upstairs checking on Emma, his footsteps heavy on the hardwood. When he came back down, his face was grim. She's asking for water, but I think she heard your phone ring. Kids always know when something's wrong. He grabbed his car keys from the counter. We should take her somewhere else tonight. Where? A hotel? I rubbed my temples, trying to think clearly. Sarah knows all Emma's friends, all the places we used to go. And if we run, it looks like I'm the one kidnapping her. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a Facebook notification. Sarah had posted something. I opened it with dread. Asterisk, sometimes the system fails our children. Sometimes mothers have to take extraordinary measures to protect their babies from unstable influences. Emma, mommy loves you. Daddy David loves you. We're going to be together again soon. Hashtag mothers love, hashtag protecting Emma, hashtag truth will come, asterisk. The post had 7 likes already. Heart emojis from people who still believed Sarah's version of events. Jesus, David whispered, reading over my shoulder. She's setting up some kind of narrative. Making it sound like you're the threat. Emma's voice drifted down from upstairs. Daddy? David? I can't sleep. We both headed upstairs, and I realized how naturally we'd fallen into this weird partnership. 6 hours ago, David thought I was dead. Now we were coordinating Emma's protection like divorced parents who'd learned to work together. Emma was sitting up in bed, clutching her elephant. I keep thinking about mommy in the police car. Was she scared? I sat on the edge of her bed. Probably, sweetheart. But sometimes grown-ups make choices that have consequences. Is she going to be okay? The innocent question hit me like a punch. Despite everything Sarah had done, Emma still loved her mother. Still worried about her. That's what healthy kids do, they love their parents unconditionally, even when those parents don't deserve it. Mommy's going to get help, I said carefully. But right now, you're safe here with me and David. Are you going to take me away from David? Emma's eyes were wide, worried. Because I like living here. David makes really good mac and cheese. David cleared his throat from the doorway. Your dad and I are figuring out what's best for you. Nobody's making any big changes tonight. After Emma finally fell back asleep, David and I sat in his living room, both of us jumping at every car that drove by. At 11:30, my phone rang again. Rodriguez, finally calling back. Marcus, we have a problem. Sarah's parents hired Jeffrey Kellerman as her attorney. My blood went cold. Kellerman was Sacramento's most notorious defense lawyer, the guy who got drunk drivers acquitted and made domestic violence charges disappear. How bad is this? Bad. Kellerman's already filed motions claiming you abandoned Emma, arguing that Sarah's actions were a desperate mother's attempt to help her daughter process abandonment trauma. Rodriguez paused. He's also requesting an emergency custody hearing, claiming Emma's in danger with you. That's insane. Sarah's the one who. I know what Sarah did. But Kellerman's spinning it differently. Says you disappeared for 6 months, never tried to contact Emma directly, never challenged the death reports until it became financially convenient. Rodriguez's voice was tired. Marcus, he's good at making victims look like perpetrators. David was watching my face, reading the bad news in my expression. There's more, Rodriguez continued. Sarah's parents put up their house as collateral for her bail. Linda Matthews is telling anyone who'll listen that you were abusive during the marriage, that Sarah was protecting Emma from a violent father. I never touched either of them. Prove it. In court. While Sarah's lawyer paints you as an unstable stalker who traumatized his daughter by faking his own resurrection. I hung up and looked at David. We're in trouble. The custody hearing was scheduled for 9 a.m. Thursday morning, less than 48 hours away. I spent Wednesday night pacing David's living room while Emma slept upstairs, trying to figure out how to prove I wasn't the monster Sarah's lawyer was painting me as. At 6:23 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, *, check Emma's school parking lot. Come alone. *. Sarah. She wanted to meet. David was already up, making coffee in the kitchen when I showed him the message. His jaw tightened as he read it. It's a trap, he said immediately. Don't go. She has something planned for the custody hearing. I need to know what. I grabbed my jacket. If I don't show up, she'll just escalate whatever she's doing. Then I'm coming with you. David, someone needs to stay with Emma. If this goes wrong. Emma's voice interrupted us from the top of the stairs. Why are you guys whispering? Is mommy coming back? David and I exchanged glances. The kid's radar for adult stress was getting sharper by the hour. Just boring grown-up stuff, I called up. David's going to make you pancakes while Daddy runs an errand. 20 minutes later, I was pulling into Lincoln Elementary's empty parking lot. Sarah's Honda was parked near the playground, engine running. She got out as I approached, designer jeans, perfect makeup, looking nothing like someone who'd spent the night in jail. You look good for a dead man, she said, leaning against her car with fake casualness. Cut the act, Sarah. What do you want? She pulled out her phone, swiping to a video. I want you to watch this. The video showed Emma in Dr. Wong's office from last week, sobbing uncontrollably. Sarah's voice was behind the camera. Tell Dr. Wong why you're scared, sweetheart. Emma's tiny voice, barely audible, because what if Daddy comes back but he's different? What if he's angry at me for forgetting him? My chest tightened. Sarah had filmed Emma's therapy session without Dr. Wong's knowledge. Keep watching, Sarah said coldly. The video continued with Emma explaining her nightmares, not about me being dead, but about me returning and being disappointed in her. Daddy might not love me anymore because I let David read me stories. Daddy might think I replaced him. Sarah stopped the video. Jeffrey Kellerman thinks this shows a child terrified of her father's return. A little girl who's been traumatized by your sudden resurrection. You coached her, I said, but my voice sounded weak even to me. I documented her genuine fears about you disrupting the stable life David and I built. Sarah's smile was razor sharp. Emma's been in therapy for months because she couldn't let go of a fantasy that her dead father might return. That's not healthy attachment, Marcus. That's psychological damage. She swiped to another video, this one from yesterday, showing Emma clinging to me outside David's house while I was crouched down talking to her. Look at her body language, Sarah continued. Desperate, clingy behavior toward a man she barely remembers. Classic signs of a child trying to please an unstable adult. That's not what happened. It doesn't matter what actually happened. It matters what the footage looks like. Sarah pocketed her phone. Jeffrey's also subpoenaing your employment records from Portland. Turns out you've been switching jobs every few months since the divorce. 3 different companies in 6 months, Marcus. That doesn't scream stable father figure. My stomach dropped. She was right, I'd been freelancing, taking short-term contracts because I couldn't focus on anything long-term while fighting for Emma. But on paper, it looked like employment instability. Here's what's going to happen, Sarah continued. Tomorrow morning, you're going to tell the judge that you realize Emma's better off with her mother and David. You'll request supervised visitation only, maybe 1 weekend a month. Like hell. Or Jeffrey presents all this evidence, plus testimony from 3 witnesses who'll swear you were mentally unstable during our marriage. Emma gets removed from David's house and placed in emergency foster care while the court sorts out whether either of us is fit. Sarah's voice turned deadly calm. How do you think Emma will handle being taken away from both her parents and the only stable home she's known? A car pulled into the parking lot, a black Lexus with tinted windows. Jeffrey Kellerman stepped out, dressed in a $1,000 suit despite the early hour. Mr. Chen, he said, walking over with predatory confidence. I was hoping we'd get a chance to chat before tomorrow's hearing. This is harassment, I said, but I was outnumbered and knew it. This is a settlement conference, Kellerman replied smoothly. My client is prepared to offer generous visitation terms in exchange for your acknowledgement that Emma's best interests lie with her mother. He handed me a manila folder. Supervised visits every other Saturday, 4 hours maximum. Holiday schedules to be determined by the court. Child support continues at current levels. I opened the folder. The custody agreement was already typed up, just waiting for my signature. And if I refuse? Kellerman smiled like a shark. Then tomorrow I present evidence that you psychologically terrorized your daughter by staging your own return from the dead, that you've demonstrated employment instability and stalking behavior, and that Emma was thriving in a stable 2-parent household before your dramatic reappearance traumatized her. My phone was buzzing, David, probably wondering where I was. In 8 hours, Emma would be getting ready for school, eating breakfast in David's kitchen, completely unaware that her entire future was being negotiated in a parking lot. 24 hours, Marcus, Sarah said, getting back in her car. Sign the agreement, or lose Emma completely. As they drove away, I sat in my car staring at the custody papers, trying to figure out how Sarah had managed to turn my resurrection into evidence of my unfitness as a father. My daughter was 2 miles away, probably asking David why Daddy left so early and when he was coming back. And I had no idea what to tell her. I drove back to David's house with my hands shaking and Sarah's ultimatum echoing in my head. 24 hours to sign away my daughter or watch her get thrown into foster care while Kellerman painted me as an unfit stalker. David met me at the door, Emma's backpack slung over his shoulder. School drop-off in 10 minutes. How did it go? Terrible. I showed him the custody agreement. Sarah's got videos, employment records, witness testimony. Her lawyer's going to destroy me in court unless I agree to supervised visits only. David's face went pale as he read the terms. 4 hours every other Saturday. That's not custody, that's charity. Daddy. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, fully dressed but moving slowly. Are you coming to school with us today? My chest tightened. How do you tell a 7-year-old that her mother might succeed in taking her away from both of the men she'd come to trust? Not today, sweetheart. But I'll be here when you get home. After they left for school, I spent an hour on the phone with my lawyer, Rebecca Martinez. She'd been handling my divorce case pro bono through the Legal Aid Society, but this custody fight was beyond her expertise. Marcus, Jeffrey Kellerman charges $800 an hour and hasn't lost a custody case in 5 years, Rebecca said bluntly. Sarah's parents are funding a full-scale character assassination, and we're fighting it with legal aid resources. What about the fraud charges? The fake death certificate? Different court system. Family court judges care about what's best for the child, not what crimes the parents committed against each other. Rebecca paused. Kellerman's going to argue that Sarah's actions, while legally questionable, came from a place of maternal protection. You abandoning Emma for 6 months plays right into that narrative. I didn't abandon her. Sarah blocked all contact. Prove it. Show phone records of you trying to call Emma directly. Show emails to her school asking about her welfare. Show something that demonstrates you were actively fighting for access to your daughter. The silence stretched between us. I had transfer receipts for child support payments and unanswered texts to Sarah's blocked number. But I'd never tried to contact Emma's school directly, never showed up at birthday parties or school events, never pushed past Sarah's stonewalling to maintain an independent relationship with my daughter. On paper, it looked exactly like abandonment. At 2:47 p.m., my phone rang. David, calling from Emma's school. We have a problem, he said immediately. I went to pick up Emma, and she's not here. Her teacher says Sarah checked her out at 1:15 p.m. for a family emergency. My blood turned to ice. Sarah has Emma. I'm talking to the principal now. Apparently Sarah still had legal guardian status in a school system. They had no reason to deny her access. I was already grabbing my keys. Where would she take her? I don't know. Her parents' house maybe. David's voice was tight with panic. Marcus, the custody hearing is tomorrow morning. If Sarah disappears with Emma tonight, she wins by default. I was running to my car now. David, call Detective Rodriguez. Report Emma missing. Even if it's not technically kidnapping yet, we need it documented. I drove to Linda and Frank Matthews' house first, the Colonial on Elm Street where Sarah had grown up. Linda's Mercedes was in the driveway, but Sarah's Honda was nowhere to be seen. I rang the doorbell anyway. Linda answered, her face immediately hardening when she saw me. You have some nerve showing up here. Where's Emma, Linda? With her mother, where she belongs. Linda stepped onto the porch, closing the door behind her. Sarah told me what you did, stalking them, traumatizing Emma by pretending to rise from the dead like some sick joke. That's not what happened. Emma's been having nightmares since you showed up, Marcus. Wetting the bed, crying at school. That child needs stability, not whatever game you're playing. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, asterisk Emma's safe. She's with family who actually love her. Don't look for us. S asterisk. I showed Linda the message. This isn't protecting Emma. This is kidnapping. Linda's expression faltered slightly. Sarah wouldn't, she's just keeping Emma safe until the custody hearing. Linda, where are they? Before she could answer, Detective Rodriguez called. Marcus, I've got updates. Sarah's credit card was used at a gas station in Stockton 30 minutes ago, heading south on Highway 99. And there's something else, her parents' house is mortgaged to the hilt. The $50,000 for bail wasn't liquid cash. What does that mean? It means they're desperate. People who put their house on the line for their daughter's freedom don't do it for a simple custody modification. They do it when they know she's never coming back to face trial. The realization hit me like a sledgehammer. Sarah wasn't planning to show up for tomorrow's custody hearing. She was running, taking Emma somewhere Kellerman's legal strategies wouldn't matter because there'd be no court to present them to. Detective, how long before this becomes an official kidnapping case? If she crosses state lines with intent to avoid the custody hearing? We're already there. I hung up and looked at Linda, who'd gone completely white. Your daughter isn't protecting Emma from me, Linda. She's destroying Emma's entire life to avoid facing consequences for fraud. Linda's hands were shaking as she pulled out her phone. Sarah, honey, you need to bring Emma back. Now. Linda's call went straight to voicemail. She tried 3 more times, each attempt more frantic than the last, before finally leaving a message. Sarah Elizabeth Matthews, you bring that child home right now. Whatever you think you're doing, this isn't the way. My phone was ringing, David, calling from the police station where he'd gone to file the missing person report. Marcus, Rodriguez got a hit on Sarah's credit card. Gas station in Bakersfield, 2 hours ago. She's definitely heading for Mexico. I closed my eyes, seeing Emma's confused face as Sarah dragged her out of school with some fabricated emergency. How long until they reach the border? 6 hours, maybe 7 if they stop for the night. David's voice cracked. That little girl has no idea what's happening. She probably thinks they're going on another healing trip like Sarah's been promising. Linda was still trying to reach Sarah, tears streaming down her face as each call went unanswered. Finally, she turned to me. Marcus, I swear I didn't know she was planning to run. I thought she was just trying to protect Emma from the custody battle. Linda, where would she go? Does Sarah have friends in Mexico? Family connections? Her college roommate Maria lives in Guadalajara. They've stayed in touch. Linda wiped her eyes. But Marcus, Sarah wouldn't actually cross the border with Emma. She's angry, not insane. My phone buzzed with another text from Sarah, asterisk, tell the police they're wasting their time. By tomorrow morning, Emma will be somewhere safe, with people who won't confuse her about who her real family is. She deserves better than a father who abandons her and a system that values men's rights over children's safety. Asterisk. I screenshot the message and forwarded it to Rodriguez. Within minutes, she called back. Marcus, we've issued an Amber Alert. Sarah's Honda Civic, license plate 7G4H892, last seen heading south on I-5 near Bakersfield. Every law enforcement agency between here and the Mexican border is looking for them. What about airports? Could she fly out instead? Already covered. Both Sarah and Emma are flagged in the system. Rodriguez paused. But Marcus, if she gets across the border, this becomes an international incident. The Mexican government doesn't extradite for custodial interference cases. At 7:34 p.m., my phone rang. Emma's voice, small and scared, Daddy. Mommy's driving really fast and she won't tell me where we're going. My heart stopped. Emma, where are you? I don't know. There are lots of trucks and Mommy keeps checking her mirrors. Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. She's acting weird, Daddy. She keeps saying we're going somewhere safe, but I want to go back to David's house. Emma, are you? The line went dead. I called back immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. Sarah had either turned off the phone or thrown it out the window. At 8:15 p.m., Rodriguez called with an update. California Highway Patrol spotted Sarah's Honda at a truck stop outside Fresno. They're moving in now. I was already in my car, David beside me, racing south on Highway 99 toward Fresno. The drive took 2 hours, 2 hours of not knowing if Emma was okay, if Sarah had panicked and done something desperate, if my daughter would ever forgive me for the chaos that had erupted around her return from the supposed dead. At 10:43 p.m., my phone rang. Detective Rodriguez again, but this time her voice carried relief. We got them. Emma's safe. The Fresno County Sheriff's Station was buzzing with activity when David and I arrived at midnight. Through a window in the Family Services office, I could see Emma sitting at a small table, coloring in a workbook while a social worker sat nearby. She looked tired but unharmed. Detective Rodriguez met us in the hallway. Sarah's being processed for custodial interference and violating bail conditions. Emma's physically fine, but she's confused and asking for both of you. Can I see her? In a minute. Marcus, there's something you should know. When they arrested Sarah, Emma told the officers that her mommy had been crying and saying scary things about never going home again. That little girl knew something was wrong. The door to the Family Services office opened, and Emma looked up from her coloring. When she saw me, she dropped her crayon and ran over. Daddy. I knew you'd find me. I kept thinking about what you said, that you'd never really leave me. She wrapped her arms around my waist. Is David here too? David stepped forward, crouching down to Emma's level. Hey there, kiddo. You okay? I'm okay now. But Mommy was really sad. She kept saying sorry over and over. Emma looked between us with those wise 7-year-old eyes. Are you guys still going to take care of me? Together? 6 months ago, I thought I'd lost my daughter to divorce. 3 days ago, I discovered she'd been mourning my fake death while I paid child support from Oregon. Tonight, I nearly lost her to an international kidnapping attempt. But standing in that sheriff's station at 12:30 a.m., with Emma holding both my hand and David's, I realized Sarah's elaborate deception had accidentally created something she never intended, a little girl who'd learned that families could be rebuilt in unexpected ways. Yeah, Em, I said, squeezing her hand. We're going to take care of you. Together. The custody hearing 3 weeks later was a formality. With Sarah facing federal kidnapping charges and a mountain of fraud evidence, Jeffrey Kellerman quietly withdrew from the case. I was granted full custody, with David approved as Emma's legal guardian for the days I worked in Portland, an arrangement that confused exactly no one except the court clerk who'd never processed joint custody between a biological father and his ex-wife's former fiancé. Emma started 3rd grade at David's neighborhood school in September. Her teacher, Mrs. Patterson, sent home a note about a writing assignment where students described their families. Emma had drawn 4 people, herself, me, David, and a figure labeled Mommy in timeout. When Mrs. Patterson asked her to explain, Emma said, Mommy made some bad choices, but she still loves me. She just has to learn better ways to show it. Sarah was sentenced to 18 months in federal prison in order to pay full restitution to everyone who donated to the memorial fund. She writes to Emma once a month, letters I read first, then decide whether they're appropriate for an 8-year-old to see. Most of them are. Last week, Emma asked if she could visit Sarah for her birthday. David and I looked at each other across the kitchen table, doing that silent communication thing we developed over the past year. What do you think, Em? Are you ready for that? I think so. I want to tell Mommy about my soccer team and show her my report card. Emma paused, stirring her cereal thoughtfully. And I want to tell her that David taught me to make pancakes the way real daddy used to. Rectangle shapes. 3 adults had nearly destroyed this kid's world with lies, legal battles, and fraud schemes. But Emma Chinbrennan, her hyphenated name was her idea, had somehow figured out how to love all of us anyway, even the one in prison. Kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. And a lot more forgiving than we deserve.